When I talk about a compass for your conscience, the emphasis is on compass. And the dictionary defines compass as an instrument for showing direction, usually consisting of a magnetic needle swinging freely and pointing to the magnetic north. A compass is a guideline that can only be trusted and followed if you believe in the absolute magnetic north. You might even say that all directions are relative. Then the question follows, relative to what? Relative to the absolute magnetic north. That's what. And anything not relative to that absolute cannot guide you correctly. I want to give you some guidelines to help you make the decisions you must face every day. To make a decision implies choice. Choice involves the freedom to make that choice. Today we hear a lot about freedom and rights. I believe that freedom is not the right to do as I please, but the opportunity to do as I ought. Now we must decide what ought we to do. No decision is unimportant, because every time you make a choice, you are developing character. C.S. Lewis said, every time you make a choice, you are turning the central part of you, the part of you that chooses, into something a little different from what it was before. And taking your life as a whole, with all your innumerable choices, all your life long you are slowly turning this central thing, that is your conscience, either into a heavenly creature or into a hellish creature, either into a creature that is in harmony with God and with other creatures and with itself, or else into one that is in a state of war and hatred with God and with its fellow creatures and with itself. You see, the point of real Christian faith lies not in interference with your power to choose, but in producing a willing consent on your part to choose good rather than evil. Now, in making daily decisions, there are at least three guidelines that should be considered and established in your life. Number one is goal. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Now, no one accepts the grave as a goal. The Bible tells us in Hebrews 12:1 and 2, wherefore, seeing we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Now, in the context here, we're running a race. How can we run our best race? Suppose you wanted to run the 100-yard dash and do your best. Just before you took off down the cinder track, somebody offered you a brand new pair of football shoes. They want you to wear football shoes to run the 100-yard dash. They're good football shoes. They're the very best. They've been hand-tailored just for your foot. But you say, I can't wear football shoes to run the 100-yard dash. The question comes back, why not? What's wrong with football shoes? Well, there's nothing wrong with football shoes. The issue is not whether football shoes are right or wrong, but what do you want to do and how can you best do it? So, you simply lay aside the weight, the shoe that isn't right or wrong, but will not allow you to run your best race. Can you imagine someone, for instance, trying to vault 17 feet in a diver suit? Why not? What's wrong with a diver suit? You see, there's nothing wrong with a diver suit. It's perfectly good in its place, maybe looking for sunken treasure, but not in trying to vault 17 feet. The issue is not whether or not the diver suit is right or wrong, but what do you want to do and how can you best do it? So, in running your race, you simply lay aside the weight. Now, when a great athlete is preparing for the Olympics, his goal is to compete so well that he will ultimately stand on top of the three-tiered step and have them claim him the champion of the world. In his preparation, there are a lot of things he does that I do not do. There are foods he will not eat, things in which he will not participate. Now, how ridiculous would it be for me to go up to this great champion and say, why are you doing that? Or, why don't you go here? Or, why don't you eat this? It doesn't bother me. I don't see anything wrong with it. You see, my statements would be totally irrelevant in light of the fact that our goals are different. We live our lives, we make our decisions in light of our goal. Don't let anything weight you down in running your race. Secondly, you must consider purpose. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20 that your body has been chosen by God in which to live. It tells us in Luke, the 12th chapter, 48th verse, to whom much has been given, much shall be required. It again tells us in Romans 14:14 that nothing is of itself unholy. Now, this has to do with purpose. What is the purpose of your time, of money, of your body, the purpose of your car, the purpose of sex? Let's say, for instance, that I gave you $5, and I sent you out to buy with my $5 a steak sandwich, French fries, and a chocolate milkshake. After a while, you come back. Instead of a steak sandwich, you have a bologna sandwich. And I say, well, why did you buy a bologna sandwich? Your response is, what's wrong with a bologna sandwich? There's nothing wrong with a bologna sandwich. And I discover that instead of French fries, I have a carton of coleslaw. Why did you buy coleslaw? What's wrong with coleslaw, you ask? Nothing. Then I can hardly wait to see what's in the third carton, anticipating that nice, thick chocolate milkshake. I discover that you've bought buttermilk. And I'm rather upset with you, and you say, well, what's wrong with buttermilk? Well, there's nothing wrong with buttermilk. There's nothing wrong with coleslaw. There's nothing wrong with a bologna sandwich. The problem is, you see, you did not use my $5 for its intended purpose. Therefore, you misused it. Although all the things you bought were perfectly good of themselves. And you will find in your life, many times the problems are caused by the misuse of something. The Bible teaches that everything that God created was good. And as we mentioned in Romans 14, nothing is of itself evil. You see, something good can be abused or misused, and this makes it something wrong. The Bible teaches us temperance, control, discipline. Very often, what turns out to be something bad was something good that we misused because we did not understand or we deliberately distracted from its purpose. So, in making your decisions, you must consider the purpose of that in which you are involved. Thirdly, we must consider your motivation. 1 Corinthians 13:1 and 3 says, though I speak with tongues of men or of angels, but if I am without love, I am a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I may have the gift of prophecy and know every hidden truth. I may have faith strong enough to move mountains, but if I have no love, I am nothing. I may give out all I possess, or even give my body to be burned, but if I have no love, I am none the better. And again, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 22 and 27, we find words like these. You have learned that our forefathers were told, do not commit murder. Anyone who commits murder must be brought to judgment. But I tell you this, anyone who is angry against his brother must also be brought to judgment. You have learned that they were told, do not commit adultery. But I tell you this, if a man looks on a woman with a lustful eye, he has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Both of these verses deal with the motivation behind what is done. The why is just as important as the what. Now, murder is the what, or the result. Hatred is the why, or the cause. Adultery is the what, or the result. Lust is the why, or the cause for the action. Now, socially or physically, it is better that you do not commit the what, or the act itself. But spiritually, God says you are still guilty if you are involved in the why or the motivation. You see, abstinence is not enough. It cannot necessarily be equated with goodness. Too often, goodness or morality gets credit for that which belongs to cold feet or lack of opportunity. The law can't touch you until you have done something. You may never do anything wrong, or at least get caught, but you may still be guilty if you have desired and wished to do so, but have only been restrained by the fear of being caught or the fear of being punished. God does not want to restrain us nearly as much as he wishes to transform our desires. And this is what spiritual conversion is all about. You see, it's not so much what you say, but why did you say it? It's not the words you use as much as it is why you need to use them. For instance, the difference in an error and a lie is not the information that is given, but why. An error is a mistake. A lie is a deliberate falsehood. It's not so much what you wear, but why do you want to wear it? It's not so much where you go, but why do you want to go there? The Bible says that man looks, or judges, the outward appearance, but God judges your heart, or your motivation. Now then, in making your decisions, I believe that if you will carefully and honestly evaluate your goals, your purpose, and your motivation, then I am confident that your compass will be trained and tuned toward the absolute, which is God, and you will be able to experience his promise, which is to direct your every path.